Well, good afternoon and welcome to Walters Park in Bullaroo, round 16 of the NHRU, and it's the Lake Macquarie Roos up against the Hamilton Hawks this afternoon. Very tough conditions for the players, wet and windy. And joining me, Ben Homer, in commentary this afternoon is Bob Harrison. Bob, it's going to be an interesting afternoon. These two have some history. And what's going to make it more interesting is the rain, which has just started falling in the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, hello Ben. Yeah, it's a typical beautiful Bullaroo afternoon. But you're right. There's a fair bit of history between these two clubs, going way back to the infamous poaching of Nick Palmer many years ago, and then the PPS controversies this year. It's one that the Lake Macquarie boys have been looking forward to, the visit of the Hawks out here to Walters Park. So we could see anything out here this afternoon.
How does PPS Gate compare to Sandpaper Gate? Are they equivalent, is that right?
Well, I think PPS Gate might be in front of Sandpaper Gate actually, because Sandpaper Gate really only affected a couple of teams, but PPS Gate, everybody seemed to be embroiled in it at some stage.
Well, we're about to get underway. Jared Logan, our referee, and Dane Sherritt with the ball in his hands. This Hamilton side on a 10-match winning streak coming to Lake Macquarie this afternoon.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as both teams go into the finals. They've stumbled and fallen a few times, Lake Macquarie, recently, but this will be a test of their real credentials today. Well,
an early knock on by the Roos, and the Hawks are going to come away with possession from the opening exchanges and from the kickoff, which will give them a good opportunity. But as you said, Bob, they have struggled of late, Lake Macquarie. They've won just 3 of their last 7, and last week went down to the greens in injury time, conceding a late try when Milton went over. So we see Hamilton looking to continue that run of form. Sherritt takes it to the line, almost bursting his way through. The Roos defence holding firm, as you would expect at this point of the match. Vasagotti, he's been in superb try-scoring form of late. And a hat-trick last week.
And I think they really need to make this wind advantage in this first half count. Hamilton coming home with this win in the second half. If they're not in control of the game, Lake Macquarie, they're going to find it very, very hard to close it out at the end against this Hamilton side.
A little knock on there from Joe Ackersdyke, who scored in the match between these two back in round 8. Now, just going back to that match, it was a 15-0 scoreline to Hamilton. So are you expecting another tight one this afternoon?
Well, it sounds like a silly comment to make, but I think it could go either way. It could be that really tight result, or, I've got fears that Hamilton could run away with this. Though the sun has come out, so that's a positive.
4 seasons in one day. As you said, beautiful Bullaroo afternoon. It doesn't get much better.
And the crowd has certainly flocked in here this afternoon for this top-of-the-table type clash.
Oh, it's a really good push from the Hawks scrum, and they're going to take possession, picked up at the base, and they're not far away, probably about 5 metres from the Roos goal line.
Signs aren't good there for the Roos. If they're going to compete anywhere with Hamilton today, they had to compete at that set piece, and that first one was a disaster.
Well, Chris Hale, it was about 2 metres away from the line, the Hawks hooker, and they drive their way over the stripe. Inch by inch, the Hawks are closing in on a 5-0 advantage.
And this is their real strength. They're just so patient at this part of the game, and they'll just hammer away, and eventually they'll find the gap and put the points on the board.
Well, here could be that gap, probably centimetres from the line now. Bodies everywhere. And they're going to look to spin it and use the ball. Picked up by Angus Brown. He was collared, and he has been in wonderful try-scoring form this season, not going anywhere there.
And the real beauty for the Hawks, the real advantage they have over everyone else in this competition, they've probably got 2 first-grade sides running around, 1 in second grade, 1 in first grade, so their depth is just so good.
It's incredible, the depth of the Hawks, and you can see that by their position on the table. They can basically wrap up the minor premiership. Of course, Wanderers were expected to win this afternoon, so they probably couldn't do it mathematically, but win this afternoon, and all they have to do is get the job done next week. And here's an intercept. It's been handed on a platter to Jordan Leota, and the Roos are going to take the lead with their first touch of the football. Unbelievable.
young Zach Crowley at fullback there. He's playing his first season in first grade. He just trying to bite off a little bit more than he can chew there and just threw it straight to Jordan Leota. And once he gets in the clear, it's all over Red Rover.
Well, isn't that incredible? Hamilton dominating the opening 5 minutes. And you could say their first touch of the football, effectively, they knocked it on from the kickoff. Leota picks up the intercept and runs 60 metres to make it 5-0.
Yeah, that's the sort of break they needed too. And the weather is incredible. Like, it was a gale force wind 5 minutes ago. Now the sun's come out, the wind stopped, and the Roos are in front.
Just amazing. So it's going to be Tyson Masco who's going to look to convert this one. You would expect him to knock this one over with his eyes closed, even though he has got the head bandage on. And this is huge confidence-wise, as you said, just what they needed, Bob. But the big thing is they've got points now against Hamilton, and that's what they didn't have in round 8.
That's right. And it's a great opportunity for Lake Macquarie, because there's lots of doubters out there that think they haven't got it, what it takes to challenge for this premiership. And a good performance today, win, lose or draw against the competition's big guns, will certainly fill them with plenty of confidence going into those knockout and elimination semi-finals.
Well, I've got a stat for you which probably backs up the opinion of those doubters, but here's their chance this afternoon to prove them wrong, as you said. They do claim this kickoff. The Roos have won just once in 6 matches against the sides above them. That's Hamilton, Wanderers, Maitland and the Greens. Just 1 of 6 they've won, and they have got some tough matches to come. They've got the Blacks next week to round out matches against those top 4 above them.
Well, I think that is a telling stat, because the other thought out there is they might be a little bit of flat track bullying about Lake Macquarie, but on their day they've got the ability to match anybody. But you're right, against those top sides, they just don't quite have the patience and the wherewithal to hang in those competitions for 80 minutes.
So Hamilton with possession, and Sherritt turning it on the inside of Vasagotti, who got absolutely hammered. It was Josh Nico who put him on the turf right on halfway. Backtracking is Nissen. He's going to knock it down the ground away from Jason Hill, and he'll skip over the line. Confidence boosting stuff here from Lake Macquarie. Yeah. Got good field position here. It'll
be a great battle of the 10s today. The 2 best 10s in the competition. I personally think Jared Nissen is the best 10 in the competition. And he's just so cool, calm and collected, and that was a great result. So they're going to put Lake Macquarie right on the attack here. And, you know, if there's one weakness with Hamilton, it could be the fact that they're not really put under pressure by too many teams for too long.
So Hamilton win the set piece, and it's Angus Brown who's up towards the 22. Sherritt. Well, not the length he would have wanted, but as we know, the wind is behind the Roos in this first half. So, as you were saying earlier, Bob, they need to take advantage of this. They really need to go into half-time with a lead, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Hamilton will finish stronger over the last 20, and that's based on the fact that they'll be able to bring on some reasonably fresh second-grade reserves that are of great quality. So the Roos have got to be in front, then they've got to try and hang on. That's got to be their game plan.
Set piece, a line out in good field position. Here's Nissen, and you were just talking about. Ball across to the left again to Nissen, who's spinning away from a couple. Jason Hill in there to pull him to ground, initiate the tackle. Well, that pass looked forward from Matt Ferry. There was groans from the crowd, but no whistle from Jared Logan. Here's the kick put through by Masco. It'll bounce and taken by Zach Crowley. As you said, he threw the intercept, Bob, and he's just ducked under a high shot there. Will Logan come back and the penalty? I think he's going to play advantage here for the Hawks. But he is in for Sam McNeil, who's out with a sternum injury at the moment. He's got a couple of tries in recent weeks, but that intercept would have just taken his confidence down a couple of notches. As Dane Sherritt stepping right through the midfield, coming across and hammering in with Solafuti, the Roos captain. He's lost the ball. Just as things look to be going well for the Hawks again. It all goes awry.
Poked his nose through that little hole, but it was strong defence at the end. He's caused a turnover. They've looked good with the ball, the Roos, and they haven't had too much of it, but they're certainly mixing it around, going right, left. They've got their runners nice and flat on the line, and they're recycling their ball really, really well. Have they got enough to test this Hamilton Hawks side? Well, if they can do this for the next 70-odd minutes, who knows?
Well, you were talking about the Roos potentially being flat track bullies. Well, their home record is superb. 6 matches played here at Walters Park. They've won 5 and lost just the once, and that was a 2-point loss to the Greens in round 4 as the Hawks get a penalty. They will appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, that scrum that's been so damaging, and you know their last 4 premierships have been on the back of that set piece, and it looks like it's going to be dominant again today, unless the Roos can find some answers there.
Well, he hasn't found touch. Big mistake. And the Roos, well, it was a little unconventional, but in the end, the result wasn't a bad one.
Yeah,
Masco putting it over the line.
Yeah, it looked pretty ugly there. Very unusual mistake from Sherritt. He's usually the one you could bet your life on, kicking those sort of balls into touch.
Maybe just misjudging the strength of the wind. But that's the question for the Roos in the finals, because they will be playing finals. There's a massive gap back to Nelson Bay in 6th. They're entrenched in the top 5, provided they can probably get one more win, which you would expect. But that final round clash with the Gropers will be a cracker.
Yeah.
As Vasagotti.
And in all honesty, they've got to find something extra than what they've showed over the last 5 weeks to be competitive in those finals, or they'll just be cannon fodder to whoever they play first week.
And that's the thing, can they take their strong performances away from Walters Park to number 2? That's going to be what they're going to have to answer, but that's still about a month away now. They've got to focus on the here and now, and that's Steve Lamont who's charging at them. Ball has come free. And Hamilton making a few uncharacteristic mistakes early on in this one.
Yeah, there's when it comes to this time of the year, the Hamilton Hawks are usually relentless. I know Bubba Coleman is working and twinking around his combinations a little bit, trying to find what he thinks is his best 15 for the grand final. For the finals, I should say. And that's probably what's happening today.
I was going to say, is he already thinking about the grand final?
I would say he probably is. Probably a little bit of a Freudian slip by me.
Well, they've won the last 4 and 5 of the last 7. And speaking of minor premierships, they've won 6 of the last 7. And, well, their scrum is a big reason why. Jared Logan wants the ball put in again. Probably like Macquarie breathing a sigh of relief.
Absolutely. And you're right about the scrum. I spent 3 years on the Wanderers bench watching them decimate us at scrum time, so it's their weapon. And you know they are so far ahead of everybody else, and they have been for 10 years. You know, all credit to Bubba and his organisation. It's up to the rest of us to try and catch up, but how do we do that?
Yep, and as you said, they've basically got a second grade side who could play first grade. That's the culture that Bubba Coleman has built at Hamilton. Now this looks a better scrum. Well, I was going to say better scrum from the Roos, but they were still bending the Lake Macquarie backwards with the Hawks, and the ball has been put down. And that's just the pressure applied at the scrum. It was a hurried pass from Dylan Hines.
Yeah, if this pressure continues, this is just a matter of time, I think. There's been 4 scrums, I think, 4 dominant scrums by the Hamilton Hawks. The Roos have got to find something now. If they want to hang on to this lead and stay in this game, they've got to find something now. And
if you have just joined us, the Roos up 7-0, courtesy of a try against the run of play to Jordan Leota. Zach Crowley threw him an intercept, basically a gift. And that was against the run of play. And Hamilton have been quite dominant for much of the match, especially at the scrum. Zach Sykes putting the ball in.
And here we go again.
And his 8 forwards doing the job. Outstanding as it wheels around. Jason Hill decides to pick it up and just drive forward. They eventually get him to the turf. Sykes to Sherritt, puts it on the toe. Angus Brown chasing through, so is Vasagotti. It's the bounce which is so important, and they're doing well to hold up Markey. And has he got the ball down? Well, they've done outstandingly well here, and Jared Logan says yes, the Roos have held up Potalaka Markey.
There was only one of 3 Hawks there that were just waiting for that bounce, and it bounced perfectly for the Roos in terms of being able to defend it. But I fear what's going to happen here, Ben. 5 metre scrum.
Well, they're just going to drive this over the top of the Roos based on what we've seen. They're going to have to muscle up here, Lake Macquarie, or the deficit will be halved to just, not halved, I should say, reduced to just 2 points.
I'm pretty sure Dane Sherritt's not going to touch it here. Not from this first set piece anyway.
Well, is Jason Hill going to grab a try here, his second of the season, because he's at the base of the scrum, the number 8, and you sense he may have the easy task of just placing the ball on the line here.
Falling over.
Yep. And once again, the Hawks just driving forward, and penalty going their way.
I'm pretty sure they'll scrum again here.
And the Roos may have more problems on their hands if they keep giving away penalties, because they'll be down to 14.
I'd say we'll give him one more try, and then this will be a penalty try. One of Jared Logan's real strengths as a referee is his ability to referee the set piece. He's very consistent with his application of the rules and his interpretation of the rules. But I'm pretty sure they're going to go for a pushover again here, the Hawks.
So Zach Sykes to feed the scrum. And once again, the Hawks scrum just, well, it was a little better there. Hamilton having to pick it up at the base through Jason Hill.
So here we go again. It's going to be another 5 metre.
It's like one of those dreams where you just keep falling over and you can't escape.
It is, and Lake Macquarie, I think, will be looking at some relief from this, but...
Well, they're in the quicksand at the moment, the Roos.
No way out.
7-0 they lead. Jordan Leota with the try. Lake Macquarie in 5th place on the table. The Hawks first, and chasing another minor premiership. A 7th in 8 years. And a win this afternoon would go a long way to getting that sorted for them.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, like it's up to the other clubs in the competition. We've all tried various things at various times to try and bridge the gap, and a couple of times they think they have for a season or two, but invariably it ends up the way it always does. The Hawks minor premiers and the Hawks there on the grand final day.
And obviously the club that's been the closest in recent times has been Wanderers, but no grand final win for them. It was Hamilton 4 years straight. Of course, Wanderers before then, but
here we go.
Here we go. Yep, Hamilton driving forward. Sykes picks up the ball and distributes to Sherritt, who's put it down. Well, it's almost like they had too much time there, Hamilton, and the ball finally came out to their 5'8" Sherritt, and he's just put it down cold. He probably hasn't handled the ball for a good 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have expected to touch the ball off a scrum. That was the 4th or 5th scrum from 5 metres. And it looked like they had the run on them too, but for some inexplicable reason he's picked it up and passed, and Sherritt probably wasn't even looking. But all credit to the Roos.
Well, the problem is it's another scrum.
It's another scrum.
So,
and it doesn't matter who puts it in, the pressure is going to be the same.
This time it's Matt Ferry to feed. The Roos half-back. And Hamilton again, well, they have done well enough there, the Roos, but it's been charged down as they try and regather, and they've done so through Dylan Hines. He goes to ground. So they're looking for a clearing kick here because they do have the wind behind them. I want to use that. Nissen does. And it's gone over the line. The Roos fans saying Sherritt was over the sideline. and he was, so it will be a line out to Hamilton. Oh no, it's going to be a line out for the Roos. They're going to bring it back. It was attempted to be taken quickly by Matt Ferry, who looks quite bemused at Jared Logan.
Yeah, I think Sharrett must have had a foot on the line then, did he?
He must have been just on the line because you saw all the Roos bench and the fans on this near side go up. So once again, an uncharacteristic mistake. They're not as clinical, mechanical as they usually are. They're normally like a machine, the Hawks.
Now, in all fairness, it wouldn't take much for the Roos bench to go up and go off.
Well, exactly. Knowing the history, Nissen putting it up for auction. Coming through and taking it well was Mackie, and he's going to get driven back and he spilled the ball. So the Roos with potentially another chance here, because it's going to be a scrum feed. Here's a bit of push and shove. Sherrod involved. Well, we spoke about the tension before the season. This match in round 16 was, well, it wasn't just given a big circle in pencil. This was a big red marker pen. Late Macquarie knew Hamilton were coming, and they want to give them some treatment here today, and maybe a little bit, the first little embers, the spark maybe.
And you're right about penciled in or circled in red. That was 16 weeks ago that this whole problem blew up, and they were waiting for the Hamilton Hawks to come out here, and here they are, and somehow they're in front in this game.
Well, they've been patient, waiting 16 weeks, because they would have been licking their lips as the Roos in possession, and Matt Ferry picking it up and finding Peniata. Ran straight at Dane Sherrett, bumped away from him. Couldn't get away from Peter Maxwell. Drove him to the turf. Moves Ferry away to Killian. Driving forward. The second rower. Now Nissen putting it on the toe, charging through. Wilson is charging through, but it's picked up by Crowley, and he is just picked up by Nissen. What a chase from the 5'8". He said you rate him as the best in the comp, Bob. That was superb kick chase, just leading by example.
Yeah, he's certainly on his game today. They haven't had too much of the ball, but every bit of the ball they have, he's orchestrated good results for them.
Well, this is, thought for a moment it was going to be a little bit awkward, but it has gone out over the sideline for a Roos line out.
So it's been a good 15 minutes for the Roos, I think. They've absorbed the pressure of the set piece. They've taken the opportunist try, and now if they can get a little bit of the ball and apply a little bit of pressure, but that's a big if they can get some ball.
Well, how they haven't conceded a 5-pointer, I will never know, because it has been pretty much all the Hawks up to this point, and it is the Roos 7-0 to the good. Well, it was a pass that should have been taken. It was out in front from Jared Nissen.
Right, you got to catch those. You got to catch those in first grade football.
And once again, the pressure valve is relieved. Both sides making some errors just when they're starting to get a roll on, and Hamilton couldn't do it at the other end. And even late Macquarie, when they have had possession, they've coughed it up.
Yeah, and you're right. Your description of Hamilton early on was good. They are very clunky at the moment. I haven't seen too many Hamilton games this year, but they just haven't got that smooth execution that we usually attribute to them. The scrum's still as good as ever, but
it's Jason Hill picking up the ball, and then there is a very poor ball from Zach Sykes over the sideline, and here's another chance here for the Roos. Tell you what, if they can grab another try, go out. We know you're never safe against Hamilton, but makes things very interesting.
Yeah, you're right. Another try, and this wind advantage remarkably seems to have dissipated.
Well, it's gone, hasn't it? It's still, I'm just looking at the trees. It's been blowing about 60, 70 kilometres an hour for most of the day, and it's just gone dead still.
That's right.
So it's a deep throw, and in the end, Barcelona picks it up.
But neither side are really controlling the ball.
I tell you what, it's warm out there.
And it's a fairly ugly game just at the moment.
And you would say, based on the conditions we saw earlier, you would expect an ugly game with high wind and rain, but these are the best conditions we've had all afternoon for rugby.
with two of the best teams in the competition playing.
Very well taken by Solafuti. And the line out is Masco. Driving forward. Hill in there to bring him down. They're wanting a penalty here, the Roos, and
there's a lot of people off their feet at that breakdown.
And they're not going to get it. And now some space for the fullback, Lulala, as they drive down towards the 22. Ferry. Oh, absolutely hammered was Killian. They rushed up at him. He wasn't running onto the ball at pace. Basically a sitting duck as Nissen looks to find the line just over the head. That is a beautiful kick, isn't it? Just up and over the head of Markey. And the Roos fans appreciating that.
Absolutely superb. You saw the space in behind the winger and he hit it absolutely perfectly. Pressure just building a little bit here on the Hawks.
And here is, well, this is the part of the field which is very difficult to see for us, Bob.
It is.
Hamilton fans down there, I might even stand up actually on this to get a better view.
You might just guess what's happening now.
The viewers will have a better idea than us as Dane Sherritt will plant this one onto the roof, Walters Park, or maybe onto the head of a fan.
Okay.
Be careful in the crowd here at Walters. So 7-0. It's the try from Jordan Leota, the difference between these two. He snatched an intercept from Zach Crowley, and this has been put down by the Hawks. It's a cake of soap at the moment. Did you put the ball into bubble bath before they went out there, Bob?
Yeah, well, I think they put brand new balls out there too. I don't know if that's making any difference, but
no one could get a handle of it. And again, Hamilton, very, very uncharacteristic from the side who have won 10 straight. They've only lost once this year. That was to the Wanderers back in round 4 at number 2.
And they pulled about 100 excuses out for that loss that day. I think they're going to get a rocket from Coach Coleman at halftime today, though.
Well, you might be able to hear it broadcast on Bar TV. It might be that loud. Might be able to hear it from out here in front of the changing rooms. Hamilton again. That scrum superb. Jared Logan wants it reset though.
At some stage here, due to the dominance, referee Logan's going to have to start giving the Hawks penalties to reward that dominance. And especially in the latter stages of the game when they're able to bring on a virtually new front row, all first grade quality, and unfortunately Lake Macquarie haven't got that depth to call on.
Well, that's where it's going to tell, isn't it? That final 20 minutes. Now, I know the wind has died down, but if it does pick up again, final 20 minutes, Hamilton with their fresh bench and a very strong bench with the wind behind them. That's going to be tough going for the Roos.
So it's a late Macquarie feed here. It doesn't matter who's been feeding the scrums. They've been going backwards all day. They've got to find a solution to this.
Hines away and out the back to Nissen. Almost just poked his nose through to Tremel. And now Peniata bumping away from a couple, and he just got the Inspector Gadget arm up and got the ball down to Lolala. And the ball is bobbled free again. Maybe picked up by Crowley, and is. It's a broken field there for him for a moment until he was spun and smacked to the ground by Solafuti.
They're struggling to get the go forward here, the Hawks, which is usually one of the best parts of their game.
Yeah, some good strong defence from the Roos as Sherritt looks to let the ball sing. And for the first time today, there is some space out wide for Pete Maxwell, and the ball has been hung on to because we haven't seen any running rugby at all this afternoon. Here's a penalty which will relieve the pressure for the Hawks.
They're going to run again here.
Sykes onto Sherritt, spinning it wide to Chris Ale. Bumping away from Hines, who returned to bring him to the turf. And now Hill will just tripped over a Roos body in the way. It was Wendell Wilson lying there in the ruck as Sherritt watches it like a golfer after he's hit it off the first tee. And it was a pretty pinpoint kick.
Yeah, it's a bit of a game of chess at the moment. Most of the game has been played between the two 20-metre lines. And I thought by now, with the dominant scrum, Hamilton might have started to put the Roos to the sword a little bit, but all credit to the Roos. They're defending really, really well, and when they get the opportunities with the ball, they're actually punching a few holes in the Hawks' defence.
Well, can you think of a side that has been as dominated as Lake Macquarie have this afternoon at the scrum, who have been in front?
No, they're usually so ruthless, the Hawks, as I said. I had a few years at Wanderers where I saw them decimate us in grand finals, and as soon as they get that dominance in the scrum, it's usually all over Red Rover for the opposition, but not today.
Well, there was a poor kick from Nissen, just went straight up in the air, and Tyson Masco has come up with it, and they're going to try and hold him up here, and they're doing a pretty darn good job of that. Hamilton, Masco won't be able to get to the ground, and it's going to be another scrum.
There's been a lot of scrums today, Ben, too.
I'd love to know the stats. I'm thinking at least around 15, are you thinking?
Yeah, I reckon. I was going to say 12 to 15, yeah.
Not good for Lake Macquarie because probably all 15 they've been absolutely battered.
They've made a few little changes in their formation there. They've taken Marlon out of 8 and Dylan Hines is playing 8 now. So they obviously think that he might be able to control that ball a little bit better at the back, or perhaps they just need that extra little bit of weight in the second row to consolidate their ball. They've held that pretty well though. But here we go now.
Yeah, Hamilton driving forward. Jason Hill just keeping it at his right toe.
They've got a scrum penalty here.
Angus Brown looked to go to the right, went back to the left, ducked under a couple of high shots. The ball comes free, and Jared Logan is going to come back for the penalty. Well, the question is here, do they go, well, I was going to say, do they look to go for the 3 points? No, they won't. Chris Ale, he's been in good try-scoring form of late. 4 tries in his last 3, and he's only 5 metres away from the line. The Hawks hooker as they drive towards the goalposts, the northern end of Walters Park. You can hear the wind has returned. That's behind the Roos. Bodies are plenty. And the ruck is Jason Hill trying to push Ale, I believe it was, towards the line. And Hamilton are only millimetres away now from opening their account this afternoon. Sykes is waiting for the ball. And diving over is Pete Maxwell. And it's a penalty to the Roos.
Well, I don't really know what that scrum, that penalty was for. He signalled sort of offside, but the Hawks had the ball.
Was he staying off his feet? I'm a bit confused as well. So the Roos again keep their try line intact. And Nissen probably may have liked to get a few more metres on that, but probably doesn't matter in the end.
They'll just be happy to be 20 metres out from their line instead of defending their line, which they have done for a fair bit of the day today, but they've done it really, really well, not conceding against the side of Hamilton's quality.
A side who's scored 621 points this season in 13 matches. A differential of plus 431. That's compared to 420 scored by the Roos, who are in possession now. Sykes looked left and right, and then with the banana kick picked up by Markey. Sykes stood tall alongside Dylan Hines. Here's Brown. Now Sherritt looks to use it. Vasagotti. The Roos fans thought it was forward, but Jared Logan didn't, and Vasagotti is going to go over in the corner. The try-scoring whiz continues his golden run, and Hamilton finally get over the line.
Finally, that Vasagotti, he can score a try, and that was probably one of the first opportunities they've had to put him into some space, and in that space, there's not too many people in this competition that's going to go with him. But it might be a good, decent lesson there for the Hawks. Perhaps they put the bash and barge away for a little while and move the ball around a little bit, which will then move around these big Lake Macquarie forwards, perhaps tire them a little bit, and then go back to the bash and barge up the middle.
3 tries last week in their 47-29 win against the Blacks. And he's got 1 this afternoon. And that's to go with the 5 tries. Yep, the 5 tries he scored against Singleton in round 13. And he's scored a bucket load in second grade. He's the club's leading try scorer this year across all grades.
And he probably has been, I think he's probably been about 3 or 4 years now at the Hawks, and I would doubt if he hasn't been the top try scorer every year.
He's in the side because Gerard, I should say, is out with a broken toe. He's expected to be back for the finals, as that is going to be a very tough kick for Dane Sherritt. And I tell you what, he almost pulled it off. Not to be though for him. 7-5 the score.
Sun's back out, the wind's dropped a little bit again. Sky is blue.
And the Roos really need to get their hands on the ball, because if they have as much ball as they already have thus far, they're going to be heading towards one result, and that's going to be defeat this afternoon.
It'll be a tested character now for the Roos. They've showed so much courage to hang on.
And here we go, they're using the ball again. And chiming in is Zach Crowley as he swung towards the line. And Jared Logan, well, here we go. Out comes the yellow card. And off goes Josh Nicko. So that's not what the Roos wanted. Ill discipline. And now they're down a man for 10 minutes.
And it's really been one of their bugbears, especially against the top sides in the competition. The competition's so equal between the top sides, you can't afford that little bit of ill discipline, you can't afford a yellow card, because during that 10-minute period, the good sides will put you away, and that's the end of the game.
Well, they're without Ray Allo, who's suspended and expected to get a hefty suspension after the tirade he directed at Nick Gall last week after their defeat to the Greens. So that's the kind of ill discipline. He was sent off late. It didn't really matter because it was in the final minutes, but you just can't afford that.
Yeah, I think the Roos are pretty keen on fighting that charge, though. I don't know any of the details about it, but speaking to the late Macquarie people out here today, they think they've got a case as a defence.
That'll be interesting to watch unfold, because they'll need him going into the finals.
One of the best ball runners, one of the best football brains in Newcastle, Ray Allo. It would be a huge loss to the Roos if he's not there come semi-final time.
So short arm goes the way of Hamilton. Jason Hill made sure it was taken quickly. Smarky, well, it's another intercept. Would you believe it? Jordan Leota, and he blew a kiss as he picked up the ball, and he scores under the post for the second time this afternoon. The second intercept. Just incredible.
Well, unfortunately, the last one to touch it again was young Zach Crowley. He's a fantastic kid, Zach Crowley. I've been lucky enough to have a bit to do with him. He's had a bad little start to this game, but he's such a talented young man that he won't let that worry him too much.
Well, I'm going to say I don't think the pass was the greatest from Potalaka Mackie. As you said, first grade probably has got to take that, but, well, Leota again. Did you see that, Bob? I'm pretty sure he blew a kiss. So he caught the ball, turned around to the Hawks and blew a kiss as he ran off to score his second of the afternoon.
And that is a very dangerous practice against one of the good sides, isn't it? You'd have to have plenty of confidence in yourself.
Well, especially before half-time. There's still more than 40 to go in this one. So Masco, another easy conversion attempt for him. 2 from 2, 14-5. The Roos leading the Hawks. 2 tries from intercepts. To be honest, the scoreline is a false reflection of this match this afternoon, but that's what happens.
That's the beauty of rugby and the beauty of sport, that the team that's so dominant, as Hamilton have been here in all fairness, find themselves 2 scores behind on the scoreboard.
It's been well taken. As the Hawks looked to muscle up, it was Gerard who took it in the air. Nissen. Got hide under it. It's going to sit up in the breeze. And he got absolutely hammered. It was Nissan who came through. And now the Hawks, well, he's dummied and then gone straight through there, Mackie. That was very, very interesting. Just all thought he'd pass the ball as Dane Sherritt looks for Vasagotti. They're herring across the ground. Vasagotti, the bounce was kind, but well grabbed by Leilala down in the corner. And now some space for the fullback. He's swung towards the line. Leilala comes out the other side. And Crowley, a good tackle, one-on-one. Fullback on fullback as Barcelona puts his head down. The most entertainment we've really had in this first half. It's been a stymied affair, and here is Killian going through a gap, coming out the other side. Vasagotti came across. Angus Brown got absolutely flattened on the way through by Gerard. And it's been knocked on after all that.
Yeah, it opened up then for Blake Killian. And I think one thing that the Roos, irrespective of where they finish this year, have got to take out of this year, they've discovered some young talent. Killian is one. Justice Gerard, who's playing out there at the moment, he's an 18-year-old kid. You know, the young winger out here that played New South Wales, I think, this year, the 14. They've got some real good youngsters out here. Now, their challenge, obviously, is going to be hanging on to them and developing them into first-grade footballers. Well, a big turnaround from last year, of course, where they were stone-cold motherless last, a long way behind. And they've recruited well this year, and as you said, Bob, they've brought through that talent, and they're in 5th place on the table. And well, they're matching it with Hamilton here, and I know we've said that Hamilton have dominated the set piece, especially the scrum, but Lake Macquarie have scrambled well, and that's important, rolling up the sleeves when things get tough. I think there's a little bit of frustration there. Captain Lamont then just had an ongoing discussion with Jared Logan, and he's still at him a little bit. He's obviously looking for Jared to do something, and he's still going, looking for an explanation. So that little bit of frustration there. It would be an encouraging side for the Roos, because they are a man short at the moment with Josh Nico still in the bin. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So they've actually, while they've been down to 14, the scoreline is 7-0 their way effectively, so it doesn't happen too often. You win the battle when you're down a man. On this occasion, though, they are not winning at all, because Hamilton's scrum is just a driving force. That's gone 15 metres, that scrum. As Vasagotti receives the pass from Dane Sherritt. He's already scored once this afternoon. They're doing a great job defensively, the back line for the Roos. Hill took it to the line, and then Sykes onto Brown. Shimmied off the right and looked to the turf. They've got numbers here if Sherritt gets it wide. And now Mackie, well, he got absolutely hammered off the ball, did Dane Sherritt. It was just after he passed the ball, it was a little late, and the 5'8" is still down, the South African. Well juggled by Pete Maxwell, and he's still going. Might have been his opposite number, Jared Nissen, that got him there too. And you can scroll back if you're watching on YouTube, on your player, if you want to have a look back at that. We can't, but you are able to do so. As Angus Brown straight through, tried to find Vasagotti with the pass. The ball is bobbling around again. And I think the Hawks have still got it. They have. Bakaric picked it up. They look to drive forward. Sherritt still looks a bit dusty, sitting at halfway. At least he's sitting up now. That'd be a big loss if he was forced from the field, but Jared Logan has called half-time at Walters Park, and it is the Roos via 2 intercepts who are in front. Both scored by Jordan Leota, and both touching Zach Crowley last when the ball went over the line. So, well, hang on a second. Thought for a moment that was half-time, maybe not. I think the players thought it was half-time. Half the Roos were walking off. Well, the question is Jared Logan going to come back for what happened to Dane Sherritt? Is he going to receive a report from the touch judge? Well, the touch judges are wired up. It doesn't appear that he's going to. So
well, here we go. This is the conversation that Jared Logan's going to have. So solid footy, and it was Nissen. And is he going to receive a yellow card? Or is he just going to receive a talking to? Well, it's a long chat.
Pocket.
Yep, he has gone to the pocket. Big loss, that. Huge loss. And pretty certain that they were back to 15. Josh Nico back out there, but as quickly as they get back to the full complement, they're down to 14 again.
And even though they're doing well, they're in front of the scoreboard here, obviously. You cannot compete for any sustained time unless you have 15 players on the field. And it probably could have pulled out of that, I would say. Chose not to and paid the penalty.
And he's going to come back for the penalty just near the halfway line. So we thought it was half-time a couple of minutes ago. The players did. And you sense this will be, well, the last play of the first half. Steve Lamont again. As you said, he was frustrated before, Bob, but now having a chat to Jared Logan.
And it's not just a quick exchange of a couple of sentences. They're prolonged discussions. There's plenty of pointing, and he's still at him. So obviously he's seen something in the game that he thinks referee Logan should be addressing, and he's not.
So Hamilton want the scrum, as you would expect. And they're going to have the last chance in this first half, and wouldn't they love to go to the sheds down by 2 instead of down by 9?
It'd give the Roos plenty of energy during that halftime talk if they can retain their 9-point lead here.
So the wind has dropped. It will be behind Hamilton in the second half. Is it a 9-point wind or is it more? That's the question we're going to get answered for us in the second. Here's the scrum again from Hamilton. Even into the wind, it's so dominant. Sherritt to the line. Cutout ball in behind Crowley. He's had a hot and cold first half and he's spilled that one. Wasn't a great start to the half or end, and the Roos now want to go for it. Hines. And no, they're going to take it over the line. They want to go to the sheds with a 9-point lead, and it was Jordan Leota with a couple of intercept tries, which has given the Roos a 9-point advantage. Fiso Vasagotti scored his 4th try in a week to bridge the deficit. But at half-time, it is Lake Macquarie Roos 14, the Hamilton Hawks 5. Bob Harrison, just your thoughts on that opening 40 minutes.
Yeah, if you were just watching the passages of play, you'd say there's no way in the world the Roos would be in front there, but they lead by 9. Have they got what it takes to hang on? Well, I still doubt it. Their scrum is being dominated, and really, besides those 2 intercepts, they really haven't threatened the Hamilton line greatly. They've relied on Hamilton's errors, of which there's been plenty, uncharacteristically. A little bit of a breeze. It'll take a huge effort for them to hang on. I don't think they can do it.
Well, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back in 10. Is there an upset brewing? That's the question. The Roos leading by 9 at half-time. Welcome back to Walters Park in Boolaroo, round 16 of the NHRU. And it's the Lake Macquarie Roos who are ahead 14 points to 5 at half-time. Against the run of play, they're going to get us underway from right to left, the kickoff in their maroon in this second half. And it's a short kick and it's been spilled. Well, it's almost a carbon copy of what we saw in the first half, and picked up by Wendell Wilson, and he's still going to within about 10 metres of the line. Outstanding run from Wendell Wilson, the front rower, powering towards the line. Sykes is waiting at the base of the ruck, and Hamilton's defence better on that particular occasion.
There's still 2 Lake Macquarie guys there sitting in front of us in the sin bin here, so they've only got 13 on at the moment.
13 out there, and since they have been reduced to, since they were reduced to 14, they scored a try. They haven't conceded since they've lost those 2 players, so there's a knock-on in there, and Hamilton are going to get the scrum feed. Josh Nico surely is going to head back out there. He is going to head out there now, so they're back to 14 now. But their direction is lacking because they're without Jared Nissen.
And it's those little opportunities, just like the one Wendell just created for them, they're the ones who've got to make count. If they're going to get away with this game, which essentially isn't going to really help them move up the table and get a better semi-final spot, they're locked into that 4th, 5th playoff. But they need to get some momentum, because it's a team with momentum. That's the ones that win premierships in this competition.
And momentum is something that Roos don't have at the moment. 3 wins in their last 7. They started the season with 5 victories in their opening 6 matches. Since then it's been a little more difficult for them. So do they continue where they left off in the first half? Hamilton. Well, it doesn't look quite as powerful as Angus Brown picks up the ball. Dylan Hines is holding him up. The Roos trying to hold up Brown. They couldn't do so.
I think they're going to look to move it here.
Back it goes to Sherritt, who was thumped by his opposite number in the first half, and he's looking all right at the moment. Nissen is...
That's a great result.
A really good result. Nissen is on the sideline due to that tackle, the late contact on Dane Sherritt. So line out going the way of the Roos. And oddly enough, the side that's been running into the wind in both halves has had majority of possession down the opposite end of the ground. That might change, but it's been all Lake Macquarie in their second half. It was all Hamilton in the first, with possession down the money end.
They might have turned this over, the Hawks. No, they've done well, Lake Macquarie, there to secure that, and they've won a penalty.
And Matt Ferry is taking it very, very quickly. He's on the outside of Hill. He puts it on the toe. Chasing across is Crowley, and he did well. The Hawks fullback, and he jinks and steps past a couple before he was put to ground. He's not far away from the sideline. There's the box kick. It's going to bounce inside.
Bounce.
Well, it's bounced up for Nick Ben. Got it back to Leilala. We know he's got a clean pair of heels. And Leota, the ball has gone backwards. The man who scored 2 in the first half. And Jared Logan has said, no, it's gone forward. He originally said it went back. And Leota, who blew a kiss to the Hawks when he scored his second try in the first half, this time he's made the mistake.
Yeah, I think now that the play's over this side, I reckon Lalala might be 11 and Leota might be 15. And I think Lalala, I'm pretty sure, played in the premiership winning Hawks side last year, so that might have been the reason for the kiss. I'm pretty sure 15 is Jordan Leota.
Well, there you go. Don't you love that? The lineups, the numbers, it's all confusing.
Just to make it.
So we're giving the 2 tries to Lalala now.
I reckon we're giving it to Lalala.
There's Jason Hill. Picking up the ball and runs straight at Ferry. And he pushes away from Lalala towards the line. Hamilton really want to start this second half strongly and get the opening try. Sherritt across the line behind Ale. Picked up by Brown, who steps past a couple. It opens up for Angus Brown. Couldn't get the unload away to Vasagotti, who was looming up on his outside. 5 metres away now, the Hawks.
They're starting to look a little bit heavy-legged now, the Roos, even at this early stage of the second half. They've got to find some energy somewhere.
Well, here is the Hawks powering towards the try line, and held up is the call from Jared Logan. How about the momentum there on the drive forward towards the line?
They probably should be in front by 25 points here, the Hawks, but they're not.
Just one of those afternoons. So they'll get another 5 metre scrum. And incredibly, for all the dominant scrums they've had inside the Roos 22, they haven't scored from one. The try that Vasagotti scored was from a backline move, started probably near the halfway line. So can they make a scrum count here? Turn it into points.
Just a couple of shoelaces being tied up there, just to give them those extra few seconds to get air back in the lungs, ready to face this challenge.
So what's the option here? Are they going to just try and drive over the line or use the back line? Because when they've used the back line, Hamilton, it's looked pretty slick.
The backs are shaping up like they're going to get the ball here. Didn't tell the forwards.
They go to the short side. Maki, he's going to go close, and he's got it down. And Putalaka Maki scores for Hamilton. 14 points to 10 now.
That might be another one of those funny number ones, Ben, I think, because that looks suspiciously like Sorelli Bainavulu from Merriweather High School.
Well, I'm loving this afternoon. Switching numbers, so giving that one to Bainavalu.
That is definitely Sorelli Bainavalu.
So we've got, on the program, we've got Bainavalu as 11, Markey is 14. So we're switching those around as well. Don't you love this?
Yeah, no, Bainavalu is 11. Markey would be 14. Is that what you've got?
I have. So it's Bainavalu who has gone over there. Yep, that is right.
See, they're doing this just to confuse you, I reckon.
At least I can pick up numbers to names. Yeah. That's the challenge. If that's what they give me, well, that's what I've got to go with. Here's Sherritt. You got to love local sport for that.
It's better to give you the name withheld.
Name withheld. Well, we thought we were going to have to call that because Lake Macquarie, most of their side was name withheld today. So
name withheld is the leading try scorer in Newcastle Hunter Rugby by a long way.
Top 3, I think. Top 3 leading try scorers.
Jared Nissen's got another minute in the bin.
So 2 points the difference now. And up they rise, and very well taken and spun to ground. Well, it was a little awkward. It was a strong tackle from Killian. It's been pretty strong this afternoon as Lamont has put it down. Bainavalu picked up the scraps.
So you'd go through half a Hamilton season and not see them make mistakes like that. Especially after they've just scored points, they're usually ruthless.
Inside their own half. It is a scrum, so they'll be pleased about that, but Lake Macquarie will try and get the ball in and out as quickly as they possibly can. Still down to 14 men, but Jared Nissen isn't far away. And he's picked up at the base by Dylan Hines, who was moved into that number 8. There's space aplenty. Here's Leota. Can he get the ball back on the inside? He cannot, but he will get over the line. Jordan Leota scores his first of the afternoon, and the Roos just keep their noses in front of the Hawks. They've been doing it all afternoon.
That was just way too simple. There was nothing on there. They got the ball out of the scrum quick, which was to their credit, and then they just went down that short side and they found the numbers. I don't quite think they got the mind in the game here at the moment, the Hawks. And I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Coleman doesn't go to this bench very, very shortly, just to put a few of these blokes on notice that they might be playing first grade here at the moment, but if they want to stay there, things are going to change.
Well, it was just a simple little short side raid, wasn't it? Saw some space, and again, they're down to 14. Another try with 14. They've scored more points with 14.
Perhaps they just play with 14.
Might not be a bad idea. So 19-12. And 12 of those points that Lake Macquarie have scored have come with 14 men on the park.
Looks like he's kicked it. Pushes them out by 9.
21 points to 12. Just under 40 minutes, I should say just under half an hour remaining. And it's 11 points the gap. Well taken by Nick Bent. Peniata charging into the line. All of a sudden, the closer this gets towards full time, Lake Macquarie will just believe a little more. And a little more. They've been questioned for their ability to win matches against the top sides. Well, they're doing a decent job of it at the moment.
And this would be the top side they'd want to knock off too. But hang on, Matthew Bartley's about to come on. The complexion of the game could change significantly now.
I know it's a while away, but here's the line out, and it's bounced up nicely for the Hawks. And here's Maxwell turning it on the inside. And it was Weaver taking it to the line as Sherritt turns it inside for Angus Brown. He's elusive, but his hands have let him down again. It's Leota. Just scored a try. Now he's come up with the ball.
Another one of those uncharacteristic errors. But with Matthew Bartley coming on, he's played 800 games or whatever he is out here, but it's just an indicator of the depth. And then their top 15 can match it with anybody, but as soon as they get outside that top 15, then it's a little bit more of a struggle. But no signs of movement from the Hamilton bench at the moment yet. So.
Well, here's the scrum again from the Hawks, but they get it in and they got the ball out for Jared Nissen, who's back out there now. So 15 on the park for the Roos. He finds the line, but they're really going to have to put in a strong defensive shift now, Lake Macquarie. And Jared Logan, what's he doing here? Is he going to have a chat? And he's bringing the, he's just making sure this substitution takes place. The interchange player Matthew Bartley out there in number 5, and Barcelona is heading off the far side of the field.
So that's going to even further weaken the scrum without Barcelona there to hold it up. They've gone the short line out. That's an old favourite.
Dylan Hines was trying to get in there to hold up the ball player. It's Maxwell. Well, he just pushed away Matt Bartley. Like it was a fly there. Bartley's just clung onto the leg. Sykes short to Lamont. Ran straight at Peniata.
Better continuity there by the Hawks.
They're still driving forward. Trying to nose their way inside the 22. Hill looked inside to Brown. Decided against throwing the ball. Now Maxwell straight at Hines. Bounced away from his attempted tackle. Sherritt. Oh, Hines just rushed up again. Sherritt was able to just use his goal to step away. As Sykes looked to find Lamont. It went behind him. Picked up by Vasagotti. And swung away from a couple. Scored the Hawks' first try this afternoon. And they're going to receive a penalty.
Don't quite know what that was for.
And they really have to go for the try with the scoreline the way it is.
Looks like young Blake Killen's had his game for the day. It's going to be a great loss for the Roos at the line-out time, because he's been sensational today with that line-out ball.
So 21-10. The difference between the two sides, 11 points, but it's been increased significantly by the fact that the Roos are 3 from 3 from the tee, from the conversions. Hawks have missed both shots at goal. So Zach Sykes feeds the scrum. It's a decent start again from the Roos, but then the Hawks just laid on in the scrum. They just power through. Sykes to Sherritt. Now Brown. He's looked dangerous all afternoon. He has dropped a bit of ball this afternoon, though. On occasion, he held on to it. Jason Hill.
Working on a penalty advantage, the Hawks.
To within 5 metres of the line. And now Lamont. And Jared Logan is going to come back.
Yep. Penalty.
Advantage not received. And Logan, is it going to be another yellow card? He's having a chat to Solofuti. I don't think it'll be a yellow card right now. It's just maybe a warning.
Maybe a last warning, perhaps.
Marlon Solofuti, the Roos captain, now laying down the law to his side.
So the Hawks have made their first replacement. Bakarich is on. One first grade front rower goes off and another one comes on.
Such is the strength of the Hawks.
And the Roos have made another replacement as well. It's been a very stop-start this game. There's been so many stoppages through for scrums and other bits and pieces. Neither side's really been able to get any time with possession and build momentum and build pressure.
So the push coming from the Hawks. Sykes taking his time. Will it be Jason Hill to pick up the ball, or will he leave it for his halfback? Looks as though he will. And they rush up on Sherritt and Brown. He bursts through the other side this time, Angus Brown. The post couldn't stop him, and he's over. He's been a machine this year in terms of try scoring, Angus Brown, and he's got Hamilton within touching distance now of the Roos.
Great strength then by Angus Brown. He had a fair bit of work to do when he got hold of the ball then. But he's got great leg speed and he's got great balance too, and he used both of those to his advantage and pushed through and scored a good try into the post. Much needed for the Hawks.
And Dane Sherritt will put this one over, most likely. I'll take it quickly. So 21-17. Here come the Hawks. They've been coming all afternoon for the Roos, but the Roos have just managed to keep themselves in front. The question is, can they keep it up inside the last 20 minutes or so of this one?
Well, I think they're going to struggle with that last 20. They've made 3 or 4 replacements now, and it's really up to these replacements to supply that little bit of energy. The body language isn't great from the Roos here at the moment, but they just might be taking that few seconds to get oxygen back in the lungs and go for the next assault.
So Nissen hangs up in the breeze. Jason Hill, it was straight down his throat. He wasn't spilling that one. Maxwell out the back. Sherritt, well taken by Angus Brown. He shaped to pass and rushing through as Leilala looking for his third intercept. But Brown decided to hang on to the football. Sherritt Puts it up, it's going to bounce awkwardly. Bainavalu puts it on the toe, and Sorelli Bainavalu may well win the race here. He picks it up and scores! A little bit of luck for Hamilton. They haven't had much of it this afternoon. They get it there in spades, and they're in front now for the first time this afternoon.
And good players make their own luck, and that's exactly what he did do there. It was a bit of a nothing kick from Dane Sharrett. They got a lucky bounce, and the hard chase from Sorelli kept it on the boot. And over the years, he's outpaced many a person in this competition to the try line, and he did so again then. Probably evens out the luck a little bit when you take into account those couple of intercepts early.
You could say the first intercept well read, but the second, yeah, very fortunate. It bobbled off a couple and fell into the arms of Leilala, who raced away and scored, blew the kiss, and now his side's behind. And Dane Sharrett, he missed from here previously this afternoon, so you'd expect him to put this one over. All good goal kickers. They miss once from a spot on the ground. Normally they recalibrate and knock the next one over.
That's what he's done.
So 24 points to 21.
And I think it's a long way back from here for the Roos now.
Well, it might only be a 3-point gap, but it just feels more than that, doesn't it?
It does. And probably the team that has been the best on the day are in front at the moment, I would think.
Well, is this not going to go 10? It's been battered back, but it has not gone 10. No doubt about that. And the wheels maybe just beginning to fall off here for the Roos.
There'd still be a good 20 minutes to go, I would imagine.
Yep, final 19 minutes or so. Round 16 of the NHRU on Bar TV Sports. Ben Homer and Bob Harrison with you in commentary.
Another well-controlled scrum by the Hawks.
And the cutout ball from Sherritt finds Vasagotti, who slips through again. 3 tries, as we mentioned last week, 1 this afternoon. Mackie was cleared out quite vigorously there. Sykes to Sherritt. Rushing up. Matt Bartley was rushing up. Bainavalu on the outside of Ben, and he probably won't score an easier try than that. Sorelli Bainavalu, there's his hat-trick. And Hamilton are cantering away.
Great vision then by Dane Sharrett. He just had a quick look up, saw that the defensive line was so short, threw a fantastic ball to Sorelli Bainavalu, hit him on the chest, and put Sorelli in space with no one in front of him, and it is all over.
Well, you can't say that. We've got to keep the viewers watching, Bob. We've got 18 minutes left.
Well, there'll be some entertainment to come, I think, because it might be showtime here for the Hawks. They'll smell blood in the water, and when you give a good side possession as they have from the set piece, they're certainly going to be moving it around, I would think.
So we're going to see some high-quality running rugby.
That's what I'm backing for this last 15 minutes.
And then it'll be a trip back to the pub for everyone to watch the Bledisloe Cup tonight.
Yeah, I don't think it'll blow out to this extent.
So Sherritt just pushes that one. We just hooked that one inside the near goalpost. So no goal. 29 points to 21 now.
And that's the beauty of modern day rugby. Like the game can change so quickly with a little bit of possession and a couple of quick scores, and suddenly you look up and there's the scoreboard's totally changed around.
He's got some distance on that, hasn't he? Zach Crowley over the line. He's got that 10 metres inside the Roos half. So next week, Try not to drop my clipboard. Next week, late Macquarie play the Blacks, and that is going to be a tough task. The Blacks coming here to Walters Park, and Hamilton play Uni, and Uni are currently being lapped by Wanderers. That's going to be a really tough ask for Newcastle Uni, and then Hamilton finish the season against Wanderers.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough day for my boys, the students, next week. But to say that, you know, the Uni club are a club rebuilding, and whenever you're rebuilding something, you're going to have some bad days, and obviously it's a bad day at number 2 sports ground today for the Uni. But there's plenty of good days ahead of us to come, I can assure you of that.
Well, it'll be good to say as well. Here's Nissen. The kick downfield on the bounce. Crowley.
He's looked up, runs the ball really, really strongly to young Zach Crowley.
Angus Brown wide to Bainavalu. 3 tries already this afternoon, looking for a 4th. As Hill puts it under the wing, dishes it back to his forward, and now it is Steve Lamont tucking under the contact of Dylan Hines. Sykes to Brown.
And this is where Hamilton is so good. When they get the momentum and they smell that they're on top, they just lift a gear and no one else can go with them.
They're just playing with confidence. Definitely went back from Pete Maxwell, but he's going to do well to stay inside the line. Good strength there. Sykes to Sherritt. Looks short. Instead, he basketballed the pass just in behind. Bakarich got it on and turned on the inside to Crowley. Leota came across to initiate the contact, and now Jason Hill will, one of the first times he hasn't gone anywhere, and then the ball has just spilled out. And if the Roos are going to have any chance, they're going to have to try and mount something from this possession, because you sense every time Hamilton get the ball, they're likely to score.
They are. You've summed it up exactly. They just, while the Roos have taken a couple of their opportunities, they just haven't been able to sustain that field position and that possession. That's going to test a side like Hamilton, and you can take your chances and score the odd try against them, but the only way you're going to beat them is to put them under that sustained pressure and force them into errors. And no side in the Newcastle competition have been able to do that for years.
Hines, and now Nissen just in behind, and here is Leota on the spin, the fullback. He's being held up. He's only a small man. Matt Ferry to Hines, who's been strong this afternoon. He's done a lot of work, a lot of ball running. Attempted to be basketballed on, and the ball has just been dived on by Steve Lamont. It was Solafuti who tried to get the arms free. He did, but it's come back to bite the Roos. As here's Jason Hill, space ahead of him. Sorelli Bainavalu looking for a 4th, just stepped away from Ben. Back on the angle, he's only a couple of metres away, Sorelli. He's gone perilously close to making it 4 tries for his afternoon at Walters Park, and then put down by the Hawks.
Just rush things a little bit there, the Hawks.
Well, now Dylan Hines has put it down. Advantage being played to the Hawks. And this is Chris Ale, who's spun to the ground just near the posts. Southern end of Walters Park they're running towards. And the ball is on the chalk. Jared Logan raises his arm to the sky, and the Hawks are just getting further and further away from the Roos, and they will seal 5 points this afternoon. They got the bonus point, they got the 4 competition points. The only thing they haven't sealed thus far is the minor premiership, but you sense they'll probably do that next week against Newcastle Uni.
Yeah, it's a really important last 15 minutes here for Lake Macquarie. They need to be building something for their semi-final campaign that starts in a fortnight. So they've just got to put the scoreboard away at the moment now and start to work on those set pieces, start to work on their structures, and start to work towards going into that semi-final with some sort of confidence and some sort of hope that they might be able to push deep into those semi-final series. And, you know, it's probably a long way away a premiership, but it's a whole new competition come semi-final time, so you never know.
Well, precisely, and they're going to have to play every week if they are to make the grand final. Simple as that. They've got that elimination match first up, first week. And they're just going to have to keep winning from there. So they're going to have to build some momentum, as you said, and quickly. And at the moment, Hamilton are just all over the top. This is probably what we expected to see in the first half, and Lake Macquarie just were managing to hold on and keep their noses ahead. Not at the moment. Merriweather Carlton in 4th place on the table at the moment, and they have had a couple of tight matches against the Greens, so they'll believe themselves a chance in that elimination final, but it's the matches against the Blacks, Wanderers and Hamilton, which is the matches you've got to win the competition, and they haven't shown an ability to win those this year.
Yeah, and you're right there, and it's because of the depth that the big clubs have, you know, and we go back and we talk about the PPS system and that sort of stuff. It's something the NHRU's got to look at, because the PPS system was brought into place to help the lower clubs build up towards the higher clubs, and over the course of the last 5 or 6 years it's been in place. The top 4 clubs are still the top 4 clubs, so it hasn't worked, so they need to reassess that and find something that works that helps those lower clubs out.
Well, precisely, and it's not the only sport it hasn't worked in. I know local football or soccer has brought in a PPS, and it hasn't had the desired impact as well to sort of even up the competition. Remembering Lake Macquarie had that win against Wanderers, it feels a long time ago now, back in round 2. And here it's Hamilton all over the top of them as Angus Brown almost awkwardly tackled on his neck there, but rolled over nicely in the end just to avoid that contact.
It's going to go dead. It's going to come back 70 metres.
Eventually it just bobbles over the line, and that is the issue, isn't it, when you've got the wind howling behind you. I think the most viewed video on Bar TV Sports' YouTube channel is actually a goal line dropout which goes about 120 metres due to the wind.
Okay.
From one end of the field to the other. I think it was down in Wollongong. High wind. Similar story.
Well, that indiscretion has cost them 70 metres, but it comes back to a scrum, which they wouldn't be too concerned about.
Well, that's the thing. Scrummaging, as we know, it's so important, and even when they do make a mistake, Hamilton, they go to the scrum and they make up for it immediately.
Another strong scrum.
Well, there you go. They have got the short arm though, the Roos here. So Matt Ferry onto Solafuti. Short ball away to Wendell Wilson, who we saw find some space in the early stages of this second half. Peniata puts the ball under the wing. Now it's come out to Tremel.
He's been very strong for him, Peniata. He's run the ball all day. He's been right in the thick of all the action in the tough stuff, and he can hold his head high today. He's been probably the Roos' best.
Unfortunately for them though, not good enough in the wash-up. 36-21 as it stands at the moment. Final 7 minutes at Walters Park, round 16 of the NHRU. 5th placed Lake Macquarie Roos up against the 1st placed Hamilton Hawks, who are on a 10-match winning streak. And provided there's no miracle for the Roos, they're going to make it 11 straight. And they will need a miracle. They'll need 3 tries at least, or 2 and a penalty goal. Hamilton just continue to drive forward. They're reaping the rewards. Here's another card. The 3rd of the afternoon for the Roos. And you just can't have 3 men sit in the sin bin if you want to beat Hamilton. Simple as that.
And he's shaking his head, the Lake Macquarie player. He doesn't quite understand what he did wrong there. And I think it's just a case he was the unlucky man, the unlucky spot for repeated infringements. And he was the one that got picked.
Just frustration boiling over. So Chris Hale. And here is Maxwell. Still some strong contact there from the Roos. So 14 men again, the Roos down to, and Hamilton will just be looking for another try just to boost their for and against if they don't need it boosted anymore. Plus 431 coming into this one. 621 points scored this season, up over 650 now. The Roos with some relief though.
And it's all shaping as a big one in 2 weeks' time when Hamilton host Wanderers in the last round. Hawthorn Cup will be on the line there. Perhaps a little bit of bragging rights will also be in the line.
Well, it was a 7-point gap between the two heading into this round, and based on the scores, it'll be a 7-point gap heading into next week. So if Hamilton, all Hamilton have to do is beat Uni, and they will have the minor premiership. But if your side could spring an upset, Bob, we could have the Hawthorn Cup and the minor premiership on the line in the final round. Is that too much to ask?
Well, no, I don't think it is too much to ask. You know, you look at the scoreboard today at the Wanderers Uni game and you think one thing, but having spent the season with the students, that sometimes what you think is going to happen is far from what happens. And they've been in lots and lots of games this year, and they play the sort of game that can worry Hamilton. Whether the students can do it for 80 minutes, who knows? But I wouldn't discount it.
So Solafuti goes inside the 22. And they just create some interest here late, the Roos. And they have played their best rugby down to 14, which is the amount they have on the park here. Peniata, he's been good. Good ball. Space aplenty. Turned out wide. And Wendell Wilson, he's been good this afternoon. And he goes over.
Every time they have a man sitting in front of us at the bin, they score a try.
There's got to be something to that. The powerful prop, Wendell Wilson, he's made a couple of breaks this afternoon. He's been difficult to stop. Again there. Is there a sniff? Is there a sniff? 36-26.
I wouldn't be backing it, Ben, right at the moment.
Well, I wouldn't be either, but well, there's life, there's hope. There's 3.5 minutes of normal time remaining. Still got some injury time. Probably not as much in this second half, though, because we haven't had too many stoppages. Did have some large stoppages in the first half. So here's the conversion, and not having the legs on that occasion.
They're still 2 scores away from getting in front in this game.
What about this? They score a 7-pointer, penalty goal. Well, all they have to do is they get over the line, score a 7-pointer, we'll get a grandstand finish set up. Even just a 5-pointer will do the trick. And, well, there goes the grandstand finish, I think. Because Hamilton, unless they throw another intercept, I think that's Lake Macquarie's best chance. It's Pete Maxwell. And it was the man who you've been so impressed by, Peniata, who just spilt it. Now Chris Hale, 4 tries in his last 3. So close to grabbing one there. Sherritt goes out wide. Here is the captain, Steve Lamont. He dots down for his 3rd of the season, and the 5 points are safe now for the Hawks.
There's your grandstand finish gone, Ben.
And Steve Lamont has crashed down that grandstand.
Well, it's a shame Peniata's made that mistake, because he's had a super game for the Roos. So has fatigue and a little bit of lack of concentration, but they're ruthless, Hamilton. They've won deservedly today. They've struggled from time to time and made lots of uncharacteristic errors, but how many of this team will be their starting lineup come semi-final time?
Well, that's what good sides do, don't they? Get the job done when they're not at their best on a windy and cold and at times wet day at Walters Park. Sherritt successful with the conversion. So 43 points to 26.
2 minutes to go, says the ground announcer.
He sounds like he wants to quickly get out of the cold.
Crowd stuck it out pretty well here.
Well taken. And good contact from the Roos as well, right till the end. Remembering next week, they face the Blacks here at Walters Park. That one should be a good one. Chris Dale, look at the speed from the hooker. He had Vasagotti. He saw him looming up on the right. Decided against using him. Sykes. Now Markey. Can they grab another one? Just to put the cherry on top here, Hamilton. Sherritt is going to stab the kick through. Crowley chasing. Wendell Wilson, the try scorer for Lake Macquarie, their most recent try scorer, back there to clean up. Now Nick Ben. Hasn't had a lot of ball this afternoon, but he's done a good job there, making about 15 metres.
He's brought the crowd to life a little bit too, the young man.
Hamilton may have the ball back here. Just too powerful at the ruck, and they... Well, the ball has been spilled by the Hawks.
He's had enough.
Well, Jared Logan calls full time on a result which Hamilton will be pleased with in the end. Probably the result more so than the performance. They were down at half time, but in the second half they've run all over the top of Lake Macquarie with the wind at their backs, and they will claim the 5 competition points. And next week they will look to wrap up another minor premiership, a 6th. I should say a 7th in 8 years. They've won 6 of the last 7, and it's probably going to be 7 of 8 unless Newcastle Uni can knock them over next week. We'll wait and see. But full time, it's too good. Hamilton Hawks 43 points to 26 winners over the Lake Macquarie Roos. Bob Harrison, we probably expected this all afternoon, and maybe a little closer than probably Hamilton's dominance deserved in the end, even though they weren't at their best.
Yeah, we were probably waiting for this sort of dominance for the whole 80 minutes, and Hamilton struggled to do that, especially in the first half. All credit to the Roos, who defended really, really well, but that set piece killed them because it didn't allow them to get the possession they needed to sustain some pressure. They certainly hung in there well, and when they got the opportunities, they took them, the Roos, but they didn't create anywhere near enough opportunities to really worry a Hamilton Hawks side who, you know, it's harsh to say that they were just going through the motions a little bit, but I think today they weren't quite on their game, and they probably were going through the motions a little bit, thinking about semi-finals in a couple of weeks' time. Next week, you know, you have to be a brave man to think that Newcastle Uni could upset them, but it is rugby, and funny things have happened, but they are a professional outfit, really, really well coached. They've got superior depth than everybody else in Newcastle. By the looks of it, the only team that's really going to worry them could be Wanderers, so it could be old Wanderers Hamilton Grand Final like it is most years.
Yeah, we will wait and see. Well, Bob, thanks for your company this afternoon, and until next week on Bar TV Sports, we bid you farewell. Hamilton too good this afternoon, 43 points to 26 winners over Lake Macquarie.